Hey, friends, and welcome back. If you are a preaching pastor, teaching pastor, if you speak in student ministry, if you stand on a stage and communicate on any level in any way, today this conversation is for you. In fact, I want to start by describing a very specific moment that happens during your week that I suspect you know far too well. It is pretend Thursday afternoon, or maybe it is Thursday when you're listening to this. It's Thursday afternoon. Maybe it's already crept into Friday afternoon. And your message is going to happen on Sunday, whether you are ready or not. So you sit back down to write. You've already sat down earlier in the week, but nothing was coming. And now you've sat down, it's Thursday, it's Friday, and still nothing seems to be coming out of you. That cursor is just blinking at you, seemingly getting larger and larger and larger. So you do what feels productive. You open a commentary, you read another article or a blog post, you Google something else, or you're using AI, which I'm a fan of, to research. You go looking for a different illustration or something that will prompt or spark you, and you tell yourself that you will start writing as soon as you have the right clarity. And that's what you're after. I want to talk about that feeling today because if you have felt it, you might have potentially misdiagnosed it for years. And you know what? The fix is going to be really easy, a lot smaller and more simple than you think. In fact, it's going to take about 10 minutes to fix this. Now, here's the lie that is kind of sitting underneath that Thursday stall. You believe that you are stuck. You have sermon writer's block, right? You believe that you are stuck because you have nothing to say right now. And I promise you, that is really never true. You have been studying this text. You know it. You have thoughts that are swirling around. You have plenty to say. What you don't have yet is the clean, ordered, sermon-ready version of what you want to say. And so here's the mistake. You're sitting down trying to produce that finished version on your first pass. So what do? You write a sentence and you immediately judge it. You write a half of a thought and you delete it because it's not good enough. You're writing and editing at the exact same time. And that internal editor strangles the draft before it has any chance to fully breathe or even develop. So that feeling that you've been calling sermon writer's block is more called perfectionism. And it's just wearing a disguise. And you know what? It shows up at the worst possible times every single week. So let me give you a little deeper diagnosis here because this is the part I think that could actually free all of us that struggle. Your motivation, problem really is just probably a clarity problem because you're not lazy. You're not like not blocking time. You're not, procrastinating. You're not undisciplined with any of this. The reality is you just don't feel like writing because you genuinely don't know yet what to say. And so here's the catch that you may have been missing. You won't know what you're saying until you start writing it out. Think about it. The page is not where you display clarity that you already have. That page in front of you is where clarity gets created. It's where it gets manufactured. It's where it kind of gets built over time, over drafts. It's the surface one sentence, right? And it surfaces one sentence at a time, including the bad ones, the ones that will never see the light of that pulpit, especially the bad ones. So here's kind of the new piece I want you to sit with for a minute. And this is something that I didn't put this in the blog. I write about these topics too. So this is a different take that I'm going to go a little deeper here. But, when you think about writing, sermons, any kind of communication, right? Generating and judging are two completely different jobs that use two completely different parts of your brain. So generating content and evaluating or judging content, those are two very different things, and they happen in different areas of our brain. Like one part think about it this way, one part just throws clay on the table. The other part sculpts it into something beautiful. So when you try to do both at once, they really are fighting against each other. And that fight is what you probably are experiencing when you have sermon writer's block. You've been asking kind of the sculptor to evaluate the clay that doesn't yet exist in a form that can be evaluated. So the whole solution, and not to be too simplistic, but it is kind of simple. The whole solution just comes down to this. You got to stop asking those two jobs to share one space and one chair in the same moment. So here's the principle. And again, it's simple. And I think it's going to carry for you, it's going to carry you through a lot of preaching over the rest of your preaching lives. Here's what I want you to start doing. I want you to just write the bad version of the message first. And I want you to even label it at the top, bad version. Lots and lots and lots of years ago, a very good friend of mine, her name is Jennifer, and I love this woman dearly. She's still a good friend of mine. Years and years ago, I was having this struggle, and she's an author, and she's written lots of books. I mean, again, very talented in this crafting of content space, right? And so I was talking with her about it, and she told me every book starts with a terrible first draft. Now, she may have used a little more colorful language around it, but you get the idea. Every book, and we would say the same thing about every sermon, every piece of content, it all starts with a terrible first draft. When she told me that, I can be honest with you really quick, I hated that idea. I wanted my first draft to be a clean, perfect, opening paragraph that was fully formed, arrives fully formed, and then the next thing to be that way, and then the rest of it, and the truth portion, and the application, and the landing, to just all be perfect the first time. And if it didn't feel like it was perfect, I didn't feel like I was ready to write it. But here's what every writer I have ever met who actually finishes things has said. Everything they've ever written started with a bad first draft. They write badly and they write fast, and then they go back over time and work on the editing and the fixing. I mean, think about it. You can edit a mess, right? But a blank page gives you nothing to work with. So the first job when you are working on creating new content isn't to make it perfect. Your first job is just to get the raw material out of your mind, out of your heart, like a sculptor would with clay, and get it onto the paper so then it can begin to take some shape. So let's just get super practical with this for a minute, because I think this insight, listen, it changed everything about how I work on messages. So maybe this will help you and help you move forward and be faster, actually. And secret sauce here, when you do it this way, you internalize that message as you are editing it. And here's the beauty of that. Great communicators, and you probably know this, don't memorize their content. They understand their content. And the best way for you to deeply understand your content is to work through the editing process, the revision process. So here's what I would love for you to try to do this week, or maybe next week, just whenever you are ready to work on your next thing. So maybe it's tomorrow morning, I don't know. But before the day fills up and steals all of your best thinking, right? I want you to kind of gather your thoughts, throw them on a page in 10 minutes, write a 10-minute message, right? Or take 10 minutes to write a message. And I don't want you to worry at all about how bad it is, how awful the content is, none of that. I want you to, and listen, I want you to set a timer. I want you to just start with a sentence and just start writing. Like, what do you think? What do you want people to know around this content? What do you want them to walk out the door next Sunday thinking about or feeling or curious about? And don't put down points and don't write outlines out, whatever. Just start with a sentence and just free flow from there and see where it goes. And as you do it, you write towards that one sentence, and then you just let it be as ugly as it needs to be. Listen, do not backspace, don't delete, do not edit. You can't stop to even fix a word that you don't like, right? I don't even want you to read a single line of this until the timer goes off. I just want you for 10 minutes to start writing. And it is going to be bad, and it's probably going to be a little embarrassing, and that doesn't matter. In fact, that's proof that you did it right, because ugly is workable. And you know what ugly has? It has a pulse that you can begin to work on. Now, here's the tactic that I promised earlier, right? So, and this one, I don't know, this may be new for you or not, but before you even kind of touch the keyboard, right? Like, talk that bad version out loud first. You ever thought about doing that? Like even before you sit down to start typing, and some of you, this is going to be really helpful because you're maybe like me, you're an external processor. Maybe just create a voice note and just start talking through the bad version of what you're feeling or thinking, maybe on your phone before you even start writing. Like kind of preach out loud just to yourself the messy version that, I mean, and no one's going to hear it, and just take a couple of minutes to get something out of your head. But your mouth is a generator. You know that. Your mouth is a generator that doesn't really know how to edit. It just talks, which is exactly, by the way, how we get in trouble sometimes. But at this stage of our development, that is a benefit for us. So before maybe you even sit down and start typing anything, start with just bluntly kind of letting it come out of you, out of your head, out of your heart, record it in a voice message, and just see what comes out. In fact, if you do that for a couple of days in a row before you even start writing the ugly draft, you may be shocked at what the ugly draft actually looks like. Now, it's not going to be the perfect draft, but you're going to have some really good, raw, real material in front of you that you can begin shaping into something that is absolutely worth saying and worth hearing. Now, of course, you don't have to do any of this, but you kind of already know what's at stake if you just keep doing what you're doing, right? Like, you're never going to feel fully ready to write the message. You're not going to feel fully prepared. You're not going to feel like it's right yet. It's not perfect yet. It hasn't marinated enough. And you're going to think the problem is that you don't know what to say. And then Thursday is going to show up, and so will Friday, and then it's going to be Saturday, and the message is going to get written somewhere between dinner and exhaustion, and you're going to miss out on your family, and you're going to feel you're doing the Lord's work, right? Which you are, but you're not doing it in an efficient, effective way. It's going to be all fueled by adrenaline and then in some way dread. And then you're going to stand up on Sunday and you're going to deliver a version of something that you kind of scrambled to finish. And I hate to say it, but it's not going to be the best draft because you didn't allow a bad first draft to begin the process. So that block, listen, it doesn't disappear just by avoiding the bad draft. All great sermons, all great messages start with that first bad draft. So listen, sit down, start recording some things, start taking some notes, get the raw material out, write a terrible first draft. And the more that you begin to perfect the speed around that, the faster you'll get to version 2, version 3, version 4, and maybe version 5 will be so good, better than anything you've ever created before, and you've been internalizing it the whole time. It's gonna feel awkward, it's gonna be ugly, but it's gonna lead to something that is so worth teaching.